looking at weather things.
Oh, yes.
So
Big
here's,
old
here's that 10 seconds where I'm never sure if we're actually live or not. And, if I just watched the live stream once back, probably I would know the answer.
live on YouTube.
It looks like we're live on YouTube now. So I'm going to stick up I'm Joey Only here, Caribou Weather Dude. Welcome to the channel. And I'm here with Brandon Hauk. And this is the live stream. It takes me about a minute and a half to 2 minutes to sort of set things up here so that we're good to go. But that's why it's so good to have Brandon here. How's your week, Brandon?
Oh, it's been a busy week, a little chilly at times, and we've got a big Chinook coming in tomorrow, and you're gonna get a taste of that system as well. And then yeah, we had some thunderstorms over the weekend and busy week on the radio front of things. Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, things are really working out. Here comes Ronnie already. Sweet. Sweet. That's great. Altered content, no. Save. There we go. Now we have an image for the video. Otherwise, it's just like the image of me wearing the cowboy hat that Carl Mattson took on. I'm riding on Rocky in that picture. Great photo. Sure, but
Yeah.
it's a terrible example of a cover image to use every week. So I got to take that extra minute and make sure our live stream looks like it's actually official.
No, yeah, make it official. This is the time where we talk about boring personal stories, boring anecdotes, and good weather stories. You know,
There we
the
go.
pre-show. That's how we.
This is the pre-show. It's the show before the show. It's not even the show. The show starts at 7.
And sometimes we say funny historical things in the pre-show.
And I'll pull up the models and things in a minute. I'm just getting that shared to weather watchers now. Interior weather and wilderness watchers, welcome if you're from there. Post it to here, post it to there. Almost done. But this is how we make sure that people actually come watch. Otherwise, people would have no idea that we're actually
Oh,
doing a show right now.
no idea.
So you got to tell them,
Oh yeah.
tell them to come. And the very last thing is to send it to the cast because you just hope that the cast of the show
Like sort of
would,
like on the chair, I
would
think.
take that moment to
Mm.
share it themselves as well. Okay, we're rolling. Let's go. You're there now, Ronnie. Hey, buddy. Nice
Hey,
to see you.
good to see you. I'm trying to figure, my room is dark here. Trying to figure out some light. Is that all right?
It's not terrible. I had
No?
the same problem here,
Yeah.
every week where I
Your
choose to
camera
do
looks
my
great.
show in this darkest corner where I could open the curtains, but then it's so bright that it just makes everything look like shit.
Yeah. Hey, Brandon.
Good evening.
Yeah, good to see you. I don't know if you remember me from the early days, but
Oh yeah,
I
I
certainly
remember.
remember you.
Oh yeah, I remember you.
So Ronnie was for the new viewers. Ronnie, I used to work in the downtown east side with Ronnie, and I love him. And he would come on the show at least 75 episodes ago now or more, and he would give a report from homeless camp in East Vancouver. It was always very interesting, and it's really good to see him. And you were in this movie, Love in the Time of Fentanyl, and it's epic. And you went to New York this weekend for the Emmys,
Yeah, a week ago. Yeah.
and you lost to the stupidest movie.
Well, I can't say that. But we did lose, I can confirm. I'm an Emmy loser. Um, I'm not going for the participation award. Well, you were a nominee, right? It's like, no, I'm a loser. I'm an Emmy loser.
it's got yeah,
Yeah,
nominee.
yeah.
And then what happened?
Yeah.
Just cut right to the chase.
Is that what we're doing? Do you
Yeah, we'll talk about that for sure, man. I want to hear a lot about New York and
yeah.
your trip and just how you're doing. And I don't actually have much of a game plan.
Cool.
I just think it's so cool that you just went to the Emmys, and it's like we need to have more Ronnie on.
Yeah, it's wild, eh? I like to say that it was a pond for big fishes, and we were a little fish swimming in it, for sure. It was like quite an industry event, the Emmys. And so it was cool to be there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Guys like you and me, it's like not really on our radar to even watch the Emmys, let alone
That's right.
dream of being on them, right? But that's why I think it's so damn cool too, right? And the movie's really good. The movie's really good. I don't know if there's a plan for when it can be more publicly available or whatnot, or how it's been distributed or what the plan for that is, but people should see this movie.
Yeah, thanks. Do you know the filmmaker Colin? Do you remember working with him? Colin
I,
asked
c- I can't recall
because I think he was working here in
specifically.
the downtown east side the same time you were around. Um, so that's sort of what the benefit of the movie is that it, like, from a storytelling perspective and from a documentarist, he's not an outsider from the community, right? That's coming
Yeah.
in. He knew me. He probably knew half of the people in the film, and he kind of knows what it like the sensitivities of being in those spaces and stuff like that. And because it's pretty difficult to bring a camera into a lot of like even on the streets, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, he was had that sensitivity, but also that relationship to a lot of the people in the film. And um yeah, so it was pretty cool. Like, the treatment was pretty sensitive. And it was his first feature-length film. We used to call him the propagandist, right? Because he was working in harm reduction, but he had also gone to film school. And so uh he would do program stories, right? Like, kind of go, hey, this is what we do, in the shelter, or with this program or that program. And kind of put the story forward that way, in these short films that might have been used for promotions, for nonprofits to tell their stories. But this was his first effort at a feature length, and it got funding through PBS, which is why it was nominated for an Emmy. And U.S. funding, right, is kind of you know good to have, right? There's a lot of funding sources in the US compared to Canada. So yeah.
Well, and it tells a story to an international audience by having done so, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I certainly noticed that the movie wasn't preachy, you know,
Yeah.
which could, and that obviously reflects now that you say that, and I recognize his name, of course, but it's not preachy in that, at the very beginning, there's a couple paragraphs put on the screen, and then it just goes into here we are in the downtown east side, and here's people struggling to live and die. Here's a staff of just one place trying their best to get everyone through it.
Yeah.
And so it was like pretty emotional for me.
I bet it was. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of familiar spaces. And did you know some people?
There was faces, yeah, but less than I expected.
Yeah. It was filmed in 2019. When did you leave the
I worked
Vancouver?
worked my last shift in June 2011,
Yeah.
but even then we'd bought the place in '09 already. So I'd spent, I was still playing prolifically with the band. I was not from 2009 and 11 on maybe as part of it as I was in the years before.
Mhm.
Like, you come to,
Right. Right.
we'd have those night shift at Woodward's, and, you come on your break and we'd hang out and talk with Dom and whatnot. And,
Yeah.
like, yeah, that was happening. But I mean, for the most part, I had already was trying to separate myself, right?
Yeah.
I was trying to get out, didn't want to be And the work didn't bother me as much as just the city life in general.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
And the night shifts, and you hit on it in the movie, working night shifts. I did night shifts for a long time, and by night shift standards, many people have done much longer than 3-4 years, but that was a solid run of night shifts I went on there.
For
Where
sure.
if I was in the city and working, I was working those night shifts, and
Yeah.
of
You
course,
used to work a lot of consecutive days and then go on tour, and yeah, I remember that sort of marathon shifts. Am I right? Like,
early on, yeah, but then when I had that Woodward's line later on, that was more steady,
right.
and that was just a matter of giving my shifts away every time I wanted to, fuck off somewhere. Hey, Karen, see you
Hey,
showing up. Karen Richards there in Prince George, Ronnie Grigg down in Vancouver, Brandon Hauk over there in Brooks, Alberta. Comedeorological report. This is the pre-show. It's the show before the show. This is pretty neat. I'm gonna show you something here in a second. So this is the kind of week where you want to have some topics that are not totally weather related to go on about. It's like, oh, thank goodness there's a solar storm, and thank goodness we got Ronnie here to talk to you tonight. Because look at this is Canada right now, and look at here's all the weather stories going on. So it's pretty quiet out there. It's
yeah, it
pretty
was
quiet
actually
out
nice
there.
for once. I got out for a walk with my dog for the first time this week.
Yeah, it was miserable all week up here, man.
Oh, it was horrid.
It was miserable.
I'm gonna try and change my lighting a little bit. Give me 1 second. Nice to meet you, by the way, Karen.
Yes, Ronnie. Oh, that movie. Yeah, that tugged at my heartstrings big time. That was absolutely amazing. Fantastic job.
Appreciate you saying that.
And
Yeah.
we will get into, I think, when we get into showtime, sort of the specifics of what's going on there and why harm reduction work is needed.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I think, for a lot of people, they have a hard time even imagining what it is. Now there's going to be this movie, right? But there's no reference point for a lot of people to say like, well, I work in harm reduction in the downtown east side, and we we have a safe consumption site we started where nobody has died.
Yeah. I mean, it's also really politicized, right? Like, sort of what, I mean, um, I was on this show in 2021 last time because I remember that encampment that I do the weather reports from. It was all of us who did outreach in that encampment. We all like were incapacitated, just burnout and PTSD and so on by the time that was done, right? And that was around the same time that was where I was joining the show from. And so yeah, a lot has shifted in that time frame, right? Around and for me, um uh I've set up a nonprofit and I've been in a documentary, and so I've been able to tour to a lot of communities internationally, but mainly in Canada and the US. And this issue, which used to be concentrated in the downtown east side, it's everywhere. Every community has encampments. Every community has like a concern about the rates of overdose and death by overdose, and every community has concerns about how those impact safety, right? And so it's sort of like everyone's issue, and so many people can point to loss, right? That someone in their family or close to them has been
That was
impacted.
going to be my next point. Is that's something that's changed in BC. If you go from the '90s till now, is everybody who's lived in BC for long enough knows somebody who's died from an overdose, or multiples, or many.
Yeah.
The list is long, man.
Yeah.
The list is long, and because you spent longer and went into it and kept doing it, and your list is longer than mine. But despite that, when I left working in the downtown east side, the list kept growing.
Yeah.
And it didn't just keep growing from people who I knew down there. It was from people in Kamloops. It was from people Quesnel. It was from people, you know?
I know. I remember it, like kind of hearing other communities impacted, like, this group of families when my kids were little, one family had a son impacted, like as he grew up, and people in different communities, and then it happened in my own family as well, and it wasn't just a homeless thing or a downtown east side thing, but it's and I hope, my hope is that builds, you know empathy and support for the cause, but it seems to be weaponized against so readily, and I think that there's a lot of misinformation that occupies the bandwidth of talking about these issues.
Every
And
year since 2019, a firefighter I've worked with has died from an overdose.
are you serious?
Every year, except this year, not yet that I know of.
Wow, man.
But 2019, 2020, 21, 22, last year, several.
Wow.
Nina, Thunder. So it's no longer just a downtown east side homeless thing.
No.
And that's why it's no longer a fringe issue that, it, it's less of a, you don't have to convince people so much no more.
Hmm.
The vast majority get it.
I lost one just last year to fentanyl down in Moccasin Flats here in Prince George. Yeah, it was it was laced with it. He was taking something else, and that's what happened to him. And that was a horrible memorial to go to.
I think
Hey,
I
Mark,
hi. Yeah, we're real heavy tonight, aren't we?
gonna be.
I think it's important though. I think a lot of people don't realize that like in Washington and Oregon, and maybe this happens here in BC too, like they're always like, oh, like all the druggies in Portland, all the druggies in Seattle. But like I lived in Nebraska for 2 years and the small towns almost have it worse, because at least in the US plains, um, all these big corporations have bought up all the farming land. And so the economic opportunities in these small towns just don't exist anymore. I don't know if this was before fentanyl became the big issue, but like this is a small town issue. This is a big city issue. This is a Canadian issue and an American issue. And it impacts everyone. Like you guys have talked about, people, I know people. Like this is such a big problem that we have on the continent right now.
Yeah, well, people want to keep pretending it's just the druggies. Well, it's just them people at Season's house in Quesnel. But then you look at the deaths, and you go, well, no, it's your jock boys that work at the oil rigs that came home and did some lines of cocaine.
Right.
Want to say
And
that
They're
it's
dead from fentanyl for some reason.
yeah.
just want to
If
say
I
that it's
can say
also
something
happening.
really, sorry, Michael, if I can say something really, really personal, I had a good friend 6 weeks ago who deliberately tried to take his life with fentanyl. He got
Easy
it.
access.
It was easy access for him, and it was deliberately planned. Thankfully, his family and friends knew something was up and intervened, got the cops involved. They found him in a hotel in Vanderhoof. It's very, very real and personal. And it doesn't just happen to junkies on the street. It happens to this guy has a amazing job, a family, a wife, a kids. It happens to everybody.
Or like my great friend Sam Savage, who went down to Vancouver for some reason and died in a hotel room. Mike McGregor's here. Hank Vleistra's also showing up. It's going to be a good talk tonight. Really is. Yeah, Ronnie. So I was making this point, and I'll get to you in a sec, Mike. I was making this point, we want to keep pretending it's just the druggies down the street there and, the riffraff and degenerates in our small town, but it's not. And you got the great nickname of Narcan Jesus. When are we going to get, how are we going to convince people to have kits, even though you don't think you need one? Because you don't use.
Well, sorry, and it's good to meet the people I haven't yet, the Mark and Michael and Hank. Yeah, good to meet y'all. I don't want to run over what you were going to say, Michael.
Yeah, it's an issue that's not only affecting me, but people that I've spoken with. Our local community, like I'm a person of faith, and people in my faith community have family members who are struggling with addictions. It's not just for the people that are on the streets. It can happen to anyone. And my cousin was a firefighter a few years back, and he would encounter people who were on all types of different like drugs, or it does something to them, and it can affect anybody. Like it could even be your best friend. They have a tough time. I've worked at Silo Mission, and I see people coming in there that look like they are trying to make a difference in their lives, and they're struggling or having problems with these drugs. It's heartbreaking to see, and I want changes to be made in the local governments, and not only, but the only change is going to happen if we start calling out against it. And we can't lose any more people to this horrible thing. And like I've seen people lose family, lose their loved ones over this. To me, it's very it causes me to be very emotional. Like I see it, and downtown, people are on the streets, and I'm sure they're just trying to find solace in this. But the reality of it is, it's not just a city issue. It can be any like community. Even I'm sure I haven't been touched by anyone who's lost personally to this type of substance, but it's got to stop. That's all I have to say to this.
In the comments there, Chief Pontiac, are you clean? Are you shaving? Someone commented the other day on, I come in from the bush, and I sit down and make a forecast. And people are like, take a shower, a guy says. It's like, you know what? Like, that's like my bucking pants are drying next to the fire. That's the kind of YouTube channel you're on here, dude. Like, get used to it.
I like how we go from a really sorrowful, like, downtrodden path, that we go like happy go lucky. I think we should just acknowledge that people are suffering, and we should if we know someone who is dealing with those things, we should be reaching out to them and encouraging them, because we shouldn't be letting them die from that overdose and those things. And having a Narcan kit is, I think, what I've seen at shelters, and they need to have more of that for public use.
Yeah, Ron, you can imagine back in the day when I started firefighting, like, well, do you think you could pass an OFA 3 course? I was like, highest I ever was level 2 before that. I said, well, I did 4 years of night shifts in the downtown east side, safe injection site and places like that. And they're like, okay, we'll put you in.
I want to quickly say, because I know we have not much time, Ronnie.
I've seen everything. Ronnie's seen more.
When we're on the show, like for the recorded segment, if you want to talk about, and maybe you're planning this, if you want to talk about how to acquire Narcan, because like I don't know, so we don't have to discuss that now, but I think that would be good to have discussed.
Where are you? Where are you in the world?
I'm in the Lower Mainland.
Oh, you are. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
He's down in Sorry.
Michael,
Yep.
you're in Winnipeg, is that?
Yeah, I'm in Winnipeg.
And where are you, Hank?
Western Saskatchewan farmland area, but I'm near North Battleford.
Cool.
Oh, you're not home tonight.
No, I
So-
live not in North Battleford. I live in a small farm community called Wilkie.
Yeah, I was like, okay. You
Doesn't
confused
mean
me
I'm
there
a
for
farmer
second.
though.
Like I thought for a second, I thought you were saying you were not in Wilkie. And Brandon's in Brooks, Alberta.
Yeah, I
I
remember
didn't
that.
have
If
a
Justin were
chance
here,
to
he's
meet
from
you,
Brandon,
Rob.
Manitoba. And
Like,
sometimes I get really confused by Brooks, Alberta, Brandon from Brandon, Manitoba, and Brandon or Justin from Brooks, Alberta. Brandon Justin. It's happening.
Yes.
Brandon, did you have something to do with the Bandits joining the BCHL? Was that you? Was that
Oh,
yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
BCHO.
Oh yeah.
Solid idea.
Yeah, it was
for
crazy.
going the show, is my lighting okay? I'm using my laptop light and some background light from the room instead of the light over the kitchen. Do I look okay for this?
Yeah, it looks good. Looks good enough. But
Close enough for
for people who
government
don't
work.
know, this is the pre-show. So at 3 minutes from now, Frankie McDonald shows up, and then I hit record, and we begin recording for 1 hour. The show that will become the television show, and with Rogers TV and radio show for a bunch of university outlets in Western Canada. So, this is kind of the yuck stage where it's sort of a little less formal, and it's often we're looking at weather models and things like that. But there's not actually that much going on. Like we just looked earlier, there's not a watch warning or special weather statement across the entire country right now. We got a big solar flare coming to Earth, which I'm sure Mark Engels is going to talk about at length. But
And
Oh boy.
it's going to be cloudy for BC for the most part. So good luck.
we've got a
Maybe
frost
Soyuz
freeze
will-
event coming in Manitoba, and we've got big wind event coming on Saturday. I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, we do have
and-
that. Yeah, that's true. We got the Alberta Clippers going to form there, and it's going to through the weekend. But I mean, all in all, right now, like I usually, how many? Like last week, we came on here and there was like a fucking hurricane destroyed.
Category 4 hurricane making landfall. Yeah, and this week there's nothing. Like I bet you we could go through the radar right now, and like the best thing we could find on the whole continent was it's starting to rain on Vancouver Island or something like that. Like
Yeah,
they're really
it's like it's really the perfect night to. but just for
Frankie,
shits and giggles.
Frankie
let's
will
have-
tell you about all sorts of wild things going on
but
worldwide.
he reports for the whole world, and I report for Western Canada, and so do you guys, right? It's like
Yeah.
And I saw in the European climate model that there's like something like 6,000 or 7,000 K building over southern California, right near the Mexican border. I was like, yeah, like nothing's gonna fire over the mountains there.
like, is there no warnings in all of North America?
probably no
It
severe
Doesn't
warnings.
look
I
like
bet.
it to me.
This is crazy. So good thing you're here, Ronnie.
I
Good thing we're
wish
gonna-
my
Good
subject
thing
matter
you're the
was
special
fun.
guest tonight because
Yeah.
we'd have fuck all to talk about. No, not really, but
You find something.
we'd find something. Frankie will be here momentarily. I should just make sure he has the link here again because
Are we allowed to discuss politics during the live stream, or is that something that's not allowed?
prefer not to.
That's a quick way to get half the country to hate you.
Here comes Frankie.
Exactly.
I never understood people with that on their bumper sticker. Like, all right, no, half the people aren't going to let you in on the freeway now.
Too funny.
Frankie is just showing up now, so that means we're about ready to hit record and start the show here in a minute. So we'll go Frankie.
This
Then
is
we'll check in with
Joey
Ronnie. Hey,
Ah!
Frankie.
British Columbia, Joey only.
Oh man,
Who you talking to, buddy?
Some of my fans in the States.
Awesome, Frankie. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay. Recording to the cloud. Let me cough for 1 second. The kids made me sick this week.
that's what you get for having kids.
I know. You multiply humans, and the humans multiply viruses. It's a big circle.
There we go.
All right. Well, hello, listeners at CFUR Radio Prince George. Hello, listeners at CKUW Winnipeg. Hello, listeners at CFBX Kamloops. Hello, viewers on Rogers Television Outlets in Vancouver Island. This is the Comedeorological Report. Comedy plus meteorology equals Comedeorology. It's your show about how much the weather sucks. And I'm your host, Joey Only, up here in Wells, British Columbia, with the usual cast of cometeorologists, the panel from across Canada and beyond. Yeah, we got, of course, the star of the show, Frankie McDonald's here with us. We will talk to him in a few minutes. We do have a special guest tonight, my very good old friend, Ronnie Grigg. I used to work with in the downtown east side. He just came back from New York, where he was at the Emmys because he's in this movie called Love in the Time of Fentanyl. And it was nominated for an Emmy. And we'll tell you if you won or lost in a minute. And we also have the panel cometeorologist. That includes, oh, people are dinging me. This is tough. That includes Brandon Hauk out there in Brooks, Alberta, radio weatherman there. We got meteorologist Mark. He's down there in Surrey, British Columbia. We got storm chaser Hank Vliestra out there in Wilkie, Saskatchewan, of course. I believe I have to look through Mike from the Weather Center in Manitoba, Karen Richards from Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers up here, and group that I run. Then we got a full cast of people tonight. It's going to be totally awesome. It's going to be totally awesome. So, Frankie, do you remember my good friend Ronnie Grigg used to come on here,
Yes.
and he would give reports from the homeless camp?
Yes, I remember him in 2021.
There you go, Frankie. How you doing tonight, Ronnie?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again, Frankie.
Good to see you again, Ronnie. Long time no see.
Yeah, that's right. Happy to be here, though.
So you tell me about your trip to New York briefly, and a little bit about what the movie's about, if
Sure.
you could.
Well, last week I was in New York City as an invited guest to the Emmys, as Joey said. I'm one of the subjects in a film called Love in the Time of Fentanyl that was filmed in 2019, and it was released in 2020. Where are we here? 2022. And it was broadcast on PBS in the early part of 2023. And it was nominated in the category of Outstanding Current Affairs Documentary. And so I was invited to attend as one of the subjects. And so I went down there for 4 days last week. And do I tell what happened? What the results
Yeah,
are?
you can.
This is the time. I'm an Emmy loser. Okay. I'm officially an Emmy loser. So,
We're all losers here. It's okay.
exactly. We can all be losers together. There's only one winner, and I'm a loser. So yeah, but I was in the room. So that was okay. That was pretty cool too.
And maybe just briefly explain the movie, its contents, like
Sure.
what's going on in it, and therefore what were you doing?
So my history, sort of my work life for the past 15 years has been in overdose prevention, homelessness response in Vancouver's downtown east side, but I've especially focused on drug consumption rooms, like supervised. Every community has a different name for it across the country and across the continent. I call it a supervised drug consumption room, or a safe inject. Some people call it a safe injection site, supervised injection site. So I've worked in those environments in Vancouver for 15 years now. And one of them, the Vancouver Overdose Prevention Society site, I managed that for a couple of years. And this friend, Colin Askey, the filmmaker, he also worked in harm reduction, but has done a lot of films. It was his project. He was able to get funding from PBS, and it was his first feature-length film, and so it was about overdose prevention in a public health crisis.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking to Ronnie a lot tonight, so look forward to it. In the meantime, and cometeorologists, prepare your questions for Ronnie. In the meantime, though, Frankie McDonald, who's got the worst weather in the whole friggin' world, bud?
Somewhere in Taiwan, there you had a typhoon. It was really, really bad. Did a lot of damage to Taiwan. Perth, Australia had a powerful storm with high
And
winds and
how's-
heavy rain.
and
Then it
how's
got a
Sydney, Nova-
hydrologic outlook coming up this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's going to bring a lot of rain and down the state of Florida, southern Florida, like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. That could even affect the Florida Panthers against Boss Bruins. home opener in Florida on Tuesday.
How's the weather in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Frankie?
It's nice outside right now. It's sitting about mild in Sydney right now. A little cool. Then it got some rain in the forecast in New Brunswick this Saturday and Sunday, including parts of Nova Scotia as well. It's about a little bit of rain. Then it got more rain and snow in northern Ontario on this weekend coming up. And it's going to bring lots of rain in Prince Rupert, British Columbia. That's on the west coast of Canada, like Prince Rupert, BC, and those places. Lots of rain in Prince Rupert, BC, Canada. And then it gets some rain heading for Vancouver on Friday and Saturday. Then it get lots of stormy weather in Juneau, Alaska, and in West Coast Alaska, things like this. And South Coast Alaska, lots of cold air going on in Alaska right now. It's getting some snow up in Inuvik, Northwest Territories. And getting snow up in Grace Fjord, Nunavut, and parts of Baffin Island, Nunavut, and Resolute Bay. They're getting some snow there right now. It's wintertime there right now, Inuvik, Northwest Territories, as of right now. Their winter has begun there. They got a big storm heading for Winnipeg, Manitoba, with high winds and wind-driven rain on Saturday and Sunday. And it's snowed somewhere in Manitoba in the forecast as well. Lots of snow somewhere in Manitoba. Then it got some hot air in California, Arizona, where Gary and Dino is at, including places like New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada. It's really hot there. So Southern California, this weekend coming up, and the next week it's going to be really hot in California, including Los Angeles and San Diego and all these places. Then it got Hurricane Carl's going to get really powerful out to sea. It's headed towards the United Kingdom. And Leslie's going to become a hurricane out in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere as well next week. And then it got some upper level lows going to take place up in Hudson Bay, Quebec, and Ontario. That's going to drive cold air into Montreal, where Base Guy lives. And it's going to be lots of rain and thunderstorms in the forecast in Central America this weekend coming. In Central America, lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and all those places, including Nigeria and all these places. And Panama. And Honduras. And all those places. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Colombia right now. They got rain and thunderstorms in forecast in Colombia and Venezuela and Amazon rainforest, assuming in the rainy season. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in parts of Ecuador, parts of Bolivia. In northern Peru, it's dry in southern Peru. In northern Chile, it's really dry right now. Then it got some in southern Chile, lots of snow up in the mountains and lots of rain in the coast areas in Chile. It's dry in Santiago, Chile. Then you got showers in the forecast next week. There in Santiago, Chile. Lots of dry weather in Amazon rainforest and lots of storms coming off the coast of South Brazil as well. And weather in the United Kingdom. Then you got lots of powerful storms heading for United Kingdom later on next week possible. Then you got Hurricane Carl heading towards England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. It's going to bring lots of snow up in Norway later on next week. A lot of snow up in Norway and Finland and Sweden and all these places. As a strong post-tropical storm, it's going to bring lots of high winds and heavy rain there. And right now, it's going to bring lots of showers and forecasts in England, France, Spain, Portugal. It's going to bring lots of heavy rain in parts of Italy, like Cortina, Italy, and those places, home of the 2026 Winter Olympics. Then it got some rain in western Ukraine and Poland and southern Germany, including Switzerland, Austria, and all these places. In Croatia, Bosnia, and all those places. In Slovakia, it's getting some rain in the forecast where Stevan, friend of Base Guy, lives, including Norway. It's really dry in Egypt, Libya, Algeria. They got showers in the forecast in Morocco. It's really dry in parts of Greece and Turkey. In the showers and forecast, they got really dry conditions in Turkey. In Moscow, Russia, is lots of rain in the forecast. Some rain in the forecast in western Russia and Belarus. Then it got some rain heading towards Belarus this Sunday coming with heavy rain in the forecast, like capital in Belarus. And Taiwan just got hit by Typhoon Gratron. Did a lot of damage in eastern China. Typhoon did a lot of damage in eastern China. and lots of heavy rain in Japan as of right now. Then you got some showers in the forecast in southern Japan. Then you got some warm air and cold air fighting each other in northern Japan. And lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Indonesia, Philippines, including Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and all those places, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. As of right now, rain and thunderstorms are forecast. India's monsoon season is gradually dying out. And still a lot of thunderstorms and rain forecast in Sri Lanka, including it's really dry in Pakistan right now, and in Afghanistan, and Iran. It's really dry there right now, including places like in Africa. Lots of rain and thunderstorms in the forecast going on in Africa right now, like Tonga, like Nigeria and Ghana, and Ethiopia, and all those places right now. And over in Middle East and places like in Saudi Arabia, it's really lots of really dry and hot right now in UAE, Qatar, Oman, Yemen, and Saudi Arabia, but little showers to forecast. Weather in Southern Africa. It's really hot in South Africa right now, including Botswana, Namibia, including Angola. Right now, it's rain in forecast in northern Angola. Mozambique is really dry and the showers in the forecast right now. So is Madagascar, La Reunion, and Mauritius Islands. Perth, Australia got hit by so much heavy rain and strong winds, like Perth, Australia. Lots of showers in the forecast in New South Wales, Australia. Chance of thunderstorms in the forecast. Like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, all those places there in the hail season right now. Places like Perth, Australia, it's really dry after the storm that struck Perth, Australia earlier in the week, and I got my forecast right.
You got your forecast right.
In Southwest Pacific, lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in New Zealand right now. Heavy rain in New Zealand early next week, and showers in forecast in the weekend, including North Island, South Island, New Zealand. But another set of really cold temperatures heading towards Queenstown, New Zealand, and Invercargill, New Zealand. In the middle of next week, it's Southern Hemisphere spring there right now. It's their spring, but the winter and summer fighting each other there right now. It's going to be 24-hour daylight, and down Antarctica on November 18th and 19th, up above the Arctic Circle is going to bring 24-hour darkness around November 18th and 19th, up in the Arctic as well.
Excellent weather report, Frankie. So my first question for you tonight, Frankie, what kind of noise would you like Ronnie to make?
Oh my God.
What kind of noise, Frankie, do you want Ronnie to make?
Monkey.
A monkey sound, Ronnie. Let's go.
Ooh, 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 ooh. I need to warm up a little.
Okay. We got time for one more question for Frankie. Anyone got a question for Frankie?
I got one.
Mark, meteorologist Mark Engels.
Frankie, what's the best food to eat at a hockey game?
They have hot dogs and pizzas.
Excellent.
Pizza.
Hot dogs
Frankie.
and pizzas. Yeah, Mike.
What's the best food to eat when the weather gets cold and you start getting frost on the ground? What's your favorite food to eat?
I like pizzas and Chinese food.
Now that's my type of food. That's my type of guy.
Remember that place there? There's a place in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and for some reason I thought it was Chinese Pizza was the name of the place. And Frankie kept trying to convince me that it wasn't. So Frankie McDonald, we do have some Frankie videos to watch a little later tonight.
Yes.
We're going to go to Brandon Houck in just a minute time. So Ronnie, what is the weather like down there in Vancouver right now tonight?
Sort of your average fall day in Vancouver that's not raining. So it's about 14 degrees and cloudy. And that's been the past couple of days. There was some nice sunshine yesterday afternoon, but today it's been mostly overcast. Kind of bland. Nothing exciting.
That's Vancouver weather. How is New York's weather by comparison?
It was very humid for this guy. I was melting constantly. And honestly, when I got back to this coast, I thought it was cold. I'm just so tender when it comes to humidity. Living on the coast, I don't know what's happened to me. One thing I did the last part of my trip on Saturday, I took a train down to the Jersey Shore. I have a distant relative who lives down there in Asbury Park and Ocean Grove area, and that was you could tell me better what day the hurricane landed, but it was starting to rain really heavy, so we didn't have any beach time. We just drove past it and stuff, but it was raining heavily.
Yes.
We
that
do
was
have
Saturday.
executive producer Imogen Cookie Bailey showing up as well. She's the reason we are on TV. So I'm not sure if you're tuned in there yet, Imogen, but hi to you if you can't say hi back. We'll talk to Ronnie. He's the guest of the night. We'll be back to Ronnie, but first we're going to run through some localized weather reports, starting with Radio Man and co-host of the show, Brandon Hauk. How you doing tonight, Brandon Hauk?
Oh, doing wonderful. Oh, yes. I'll probably
Brandon Hauk report.
I'll try to make a turkey noise later, maybe after the Brandon Hauk report, because I know everybody wants to hear my turkey
I
noise.
get a good turkey noise for the
I'll
intro
do
if you want.
I'll do it after the show because you know what? Got to save the turkey noise for later because it's like the closing of the Brandon Hauk report, you know. Just like that. Okay. Well, first, this week we had the thunderstorm rolled in on Sunday afternoon while I was doing a radio broadcast, you know, the hockey broadcast there, the Brooks Bandits. We were playing the Trail Smoke Eaters, and I was really happy to be at the radio station instead of stuck inside of a hockey arena because I probably would have missed the whole thunderstorm. And that storm rolled in from the west, a nice little shelf cloud there, and boom, bam, boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah, it was good. It was a good little show from inside the radio station. It even shook the whole radio studio, in a soundproof radio studio. And I was about to go on the air, and I wish I was on the air when that whole station shook because that would have been epic radio. But anyways, I still made it epic radio, even with the thunderstorm going on outside, and it just poured sheets. We just had sheets of rain coming down. It was great. And
of course you did.
Nobody knew that there was a thunderstorm outside with the radio. Well, actually they did because my hyper levels were through the roof during that broadcast there. Yeah. Luckily it was a home game, so nobody was paying attention. No, they were all at the hockey game, and while I was watching the thunderstorm outside, and I didn't miss a beat on missing all the goals or anything like that too. So I was kind of worried about that. So I was like, oh boy, I'm going to miss everything that went on in the period because I have to do the period recap in the intermission there. And if I don't pay attention, then yeah, the period recap's not going to be that great. It'll be more so about the thunderstorm instead. So
and here's the second period recap. There was 16 lightning bolts.
16 lightning bolts, yeah. Outside, shook the whole studio. So that was Sunday. Monday, we cooled off just to start off the week. So it was the first cold front that went through. Then we saw a little bit of a bump up in temperature there through the middle part of the week. And then we saw another cold front go through with yet another drop in temperature. By the way, yeah, Tuesday, we saw temperatures in the south in the low to mid 20s. And then just to my north, we are staying in the low teens all day long with that front just hanging out just to our north there. And eventually it slipped through late day Tuesday and then cooled us down for the last couple of days. And we had our first pretty big frost this morning. Temperature dropped to -3 degrees Celsius here. And yeah, it got pretty frosty out there. Tonight, as we go into I'd say the 4th of October, we're probably going to avoid that next frost with the warm front moving in, and that's going to bring us the Chinook conditions with that next system out of British Columbia that will develop a new area of low pressure near Drumheller on Friday, the 4th of October, and that is going to intensify into quite a area of low pressure here, moving across the prairies, kind of a clipperish kind of system here that's going to bring some strong winds off the foothills, gusting anywhere from, I'd say, up to 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. And then those winds are going to spread across southern Alberta Friday night there, and then push into Saskatchewan for Saturday, where they could be dealing with those winds gusting 80 to 90 throughout the day from Swift Current through Moose Jaw, Regina. So, yeah, this is going to be like a Saskatchewan howler here for Saturday as we go through the weekend, and then the upper ridge of high pressure takes over into the beginning of next week. We'll see our temperatures recover back to the 20s, lots of sunshine, nothing to worry about. And then the great story that I found this week was a goat Yeah, that's right. A goat in Newfoundland, in Conception Bay, Newfoundland. There's this big marathon, 10K marathon going on, and this goat randomly got out of his pen or whatever and joined the marathon and ran with all of the people who are running in this marathon for the full 10K. And I thought it was awesome. They even gave the goat a medal as it crossed the finish line at the end there. So I thought that was pretty awesome for the story for the week there. And now the moment you have been waiting for, my turkey noise. Here we go. There we go.
Yeah, that's
The
a pretty
best
good
turkey noise ever.
I approve.
I saw the one-handed drumstick.
The Brandon Hauk report. One more. We're going to go one more before we go back to Ronnie here. I'm going to talk to meteorologist Mark. And Justin from Weather Center Manitoba also just showed up. And you can feel free to also speak on this. Talk to us about the Northern Lights.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take like a minute and then I'll let Justin and then I'll finish my report. So Northern Lights, we had 2 large solar flares over the last about 36 hours or so. The one earlier today was an X9 class solar flare. And for those who don't pay attention, it's bigger than the one in May, which was X8.7. This is the largest solar flare so far in this solar cycle. We're near the peak. This is an 11-year cycle where it waxes and wanes. We're near the peak. So what does that mean? Well, it being a larger solar flare does not necessarily mean that the Northern Lights will be better than they were in May, because the strength of the flare does not necessarily correspond to the strength of the ejection that occurs associated with it. But there was a large ejection that did happen, an eruption from the sun's atmosphere. The Space Weather Prediction Center is predicting KP values up to 7. That means that, unfortunately, that peaks during the day on October 5th. What is that? Saturday? During the day, North American time on the 5th, but should be KP 6 or so as we head into the evening, both tomorrow, both Friday night and Saturday night. We're recording this on Thursday, October 3rd. And that would be favorable Northern Lights conditions, assuming clear skies, for most of Canada and large sections of the US north of like Oregon to Iowa to Pennsylvania. How to see the Northern Lights? You want to be in a dark area if possible. That way you can hide your criminality and see the Northern Lights. That'll be, outside of town. In the United States and Southwest BC especially, you want a good view to the north. Other parts of Canada, it kind of doesn't matter because you're close enough to the magnetic pole. But that's kind of what I have. Justin, if you want to talk a little bit, that's cool.
Yeah, I had a question for
having
Justin about the Northern Lights. Would this affect our radio transmissions or signals or anything like that?
So it would have when the flare was happening, but now that the flare happened, it won't anymore. It's usually happens pretty quick right when the solar flare is happening. But I will add that yesterday we had an X7 class flare, and then earlier in the day, this morning we had the X9. So if we get a little bit of an impact from the X7, that'll weaken our Earth's atmosphere a little bit. And then when the X9 solar flare comes and hits us, then it can be like a double hit.
Magnetosphere, not atmosphere.
Magnetosphere. Thank you. But that's kind of what we look for. So if we already have a little bit of weakening, then it's easier for those solar particles to kind of enter and interact with that. So and the crazy thing is that we weren't really expecting a lot of crazy activity lately. These sunspot regions really cranked up within a matter of 2 or 3 days. These sunspot regions were basically nothing as they rotated into Earth view, and then they just formed very quickly. And then, you could see what happened as they formed. We had a couple of those X-class flares, and there's another big region that's rotating into Earth view now. So as our current sunspot regions rotate away from the center disk of the Earth, where kind of our strike zone, we have more solar flares that are entering our strike zone, or not solar flares, more sunspot regions, which could generate solar flares entering our strike zone. So those will have to be watched in the next week or so for further solar flares. That's all I have on that. You did a great job there, Mark. Hopefully we had a good show this weekend.
Yes, I will just add about radio transmission. So I am a ham radio operator. I'm not going to tell you my call sign so you don't dox me. But with that, the reason why radio transmissions are affected during the flare is because that part of the whole situation moves at the speed of light. So it takes the particles that are erupted to create the northern lights 36 to 72 hours to get here. It takes the X-rays and other radio rays coming out of the flare 8 minutes to get here from the sun. And so we feel that impact immediately, and it impacts radio transmissions generally below 30 megahertz. So it's not going to impact FM radio or cell phone towers or stuff like that. The particles from the eruption might impact satellites, but that's a different thing. So some ham radio bands do get impacted during these events. Shortwave radio gets impacted in AM radio. So that's kind of what I have on the solar flare. So talking about hockey, we are going to a Vancouver Giants game later this month. That'll be fun. I love WHL. It's been a while since I've been to a WHL game, and we are taking Akalia to her first game. And apparently we are taking my wife, Alicia, to her first game. She told me while we were eating dinner tonight that she has never seen hockey, like on television or anything. Her exposure to hockey is the hockey scene in Inside Out 2, which just came out.
That's like a movie or something?
Yeah, it's a Disney movie. Ask your kids, they'll know about it. So apparently this is the reason why our permanent residency is taking so long, is because my wife has never been exposed to hockey.
Yeah, get on with it. Get on with it.
Yeah, so I expect to have permanent residency next month after I go to the game at the end of this month. And my
you got okay.
My history thing, there was a hurricane in 1869 that hit Nova Scotia, and it was really damaging, and it's called the Saxby Hurricane because a lieutenant in the Navy correctly predicted the tides being super high in the Bay of Fundy, and he said if there's a hurricane or a storm this week, then the storm surge will be really bad, and it was. And I know we don't have much time, so I will leave it at that, and I will go to bed. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, meteorologist Mark, and Justin too. Good to have you as always. So we do have kind of a tight show tonight. So what I want to do is I want to get Ronnie to briefly sort of give an overview on the overdose situation and the homeless situation in Vancouver and maybe how that translates abroad. And I want to open the floor up to panelists to talk. And also when you do talk, people like Hank, for example, feel free to take a minute and talk about Saskatchewan weather when you do as well. But first, Ronnie, let's just give me an overview of the illicit drug situation in Vancouver, the public health crisis.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. I've as mentioned earlier, it's been in 2021 I came on the show, and it's kind of hard to be the unfunny one. Like I like to go, hey guys, I really can be funny, but then I have to talk about public health crisis and homelessness and stuff like that. It's a little bit hard to be funny around that. But I wanted to who just left? It was not Michael, but
it was Mark. Yeah.
Mark. Yeah.
He has to get up for his meteorology shift at like 4 a.m. and
right. I think if you pay for a hockey ticket with Canadian Tire money while eating a donut, it expedites the permanent residency stuff. I hope he gets that advice, and he should be fast tracked if he does it that way.
Hopefully when he puts the podcast up on Spotify and all that tomorrow, he'll listen to it and be like, oh,
yeah, there's a couple of little gems for him. So as far as Vancouver and the downtown east side goes, we're coming up to it was Canadian, like it was Thanksgiving weekend in 2014 when black market fentanyl hit the streets. So that's 10 years. And it wasn't declared a public health crisis until 2016, April of 2016. But still, that's 8 years where it's been declared a public health crisis. And also in 2016, that's when funding increased for more services, like the one that I was working in the film. And so what has followed with that is that there have been every couple of years, if fentanyl was like a poisoning in the drug supply, then around the time of that film, benzodiazepines, another class of drug, was also showing up with fentanyl. And then of course COVID hit, and now there's another drug on the street. It's called Trank. Its other name is xylazine. So in these past 8 years, there have been ever increasing volatility of the illicit drug supply. So just give me 1 second here. I forgot to plug my computer in, and I'm getting a little notice. Sorry about that. There we go. So that's what's true, is that the situation on the streets are more and more potent drugs. People are it's sort of like category worse than ever. And then I would say as well, with sort of how affordability has been getting increasingly out of control in cities all across North America, but especially in Vancouver and on the coast, that homeless populations are being compressed into smaller and smaller areas. So I live near the downtown east side. I'm like 3 blocks away from Main and Hastings. I've raised my family in this community. I'm not just an imported professional, so to speak. But there are people, especially as the seasons are turning and the rain is increasing, the temperatures are dropping. There are people who are basically unconscious on the streets in the rain and in the dropping temperatures. So and you know what's crazy for me is being adapted to overdose response. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a paramedic, not a doctor, not a nurse, and I've been involved in over 1,000 overdose responses. I've trained many hundreds of people, maybe over 1,000, and many of those people have far exceeded my number in this community. And what I adapt to in walking through my neighborhood with people I care about and love deeply is that I'm adapted to walking past them. I'm adapted to making sure they're breathing, making sure that there isn't a life and death crisis, because I can't respond to all of it, and people are in crisis, and it's a heartbreaking reality. So I don't know, that's a little over.
Maybe not all of it, but you did good, man.
Yeah, thank you.
You did real good.
Thank you.
And we were talking about pre-show that this isn't just a Vancouver thing anymore.
No, it's
This
everywhere.
is, everybody in BC who's lived here for any length of time knows somebody, multiples, many.
Yeah, somebody very close to me.
Yeah, Hank, do you got a question for Ronnie?
I mean, I just have an observation more, and these safe consumption sites, they are few and far between, and I wish that we could have more of that. But in sparsely populated areas, for instance, you can't find anything like that. So,
Well, before you guys opened the second site, the safe injection site, Insight, was so slammed with people that people wouldn't go because there's too much of a wait. There was a need for more. And that's why maybe that's why Sam died. in a hotel instead of down at Insight, where he had gone unused, even though he wasn't a Vancouver person, come from here to go down there and die in a hotel room.
Yeah, I mean the math doesn't add up, right? Because when in that time period between black market fentanyl, and I make that distinction, right? Fentanyl is a pharmaceutical, right? It's used mostly as a patch. It's used in surgical environments, so it's not this big mystery evil. It is a pharmaceutical. And people were using it, like they would cut up patches and boil them like in little, like on spoons or whatever. Um, but it was like the black market powdered supply. That's what's different about this current crisis. And when our services were so slammed, we went from averaging at Insight averaging 10 overdoses a week to 10 a day overnight. And those first 2 nights I was working, and we had 30 overdoses in the first 2 nights, and then we'd have these waves where it'd be quieter, it'd be hotter, and people, yeah, they couldn't wait. So what they would do is use around the site, like in the alley or on the sidewalk, or sometimes
Yeah.
in the waiting room where they weren't allowed to. And so then our service became, we had to run out to sidewalks, park cars, hotels, like housing in the area, in the alleys and that kind of stuff, right? Because people knew if they were using near, then there would be a response, right? Um, can I sort of like one thing I kind of get caught up in conversation, but just to I do want to mention, I always forget to mention my own project, Zero Block Society, which is a harm reduction nonprofit that I'm bringing that I've been bringing forward mostly as a volunteer, but I'm starting to get some stable funding in the past couple of years. So between this documentary, Love in the Time of Fentanyl, and Zero Block Society, my like I've experienced burnout, and I've experienced PTSD in this work. And the first time was 2017, and then in the film it points to a moment of burnout that was 2019. And then when I was on the show and working in, I was asked to set up overdose prevention in an encampment with over 400 tents. We used a military surplus tent, hired people that were working in the park, trained them, and very complicated project. And that was very much another burnout site, and then or burnout moment for me. And last year, really with the intensity of a film and touring and just kind of being spread too thin, like I'm almost on this 2-year cycle of burnout moments. And so that's the motivation behind Zero Block Society is like my mission statement is support the work and support the workers to try to create sustainability, because you're right, it's in communities everywhere, big and small. And those communities are unique. What our response in the downtown east side doesn't fit in a place like you were saying, Hank, in a rural area of Saskatchewan, but there is still a crisis out there, right? And so in some way, supporting the people that are showing up to respond to, like, people are suffering, right? And when people support people who are suffering, those supporters should be equipped well, you know. So that's where I'm at now. That's what I'm working.
Yeah, man. And I know things changed, but there I was doing CPR on a guy, and he died in an SRO room. And I showed up for my next shift, like, was supposed to act like nothing happened. And it was like,
you're marked for life.
yeah, and eventually I lost my wits at somebody, because people in the downtown east side, if you're not in a good headspace, can be very annoying. And shouted at a resident who normally be very kind and loving towards. And I picked up the phone and called the union rep and said, "Why am I working? Why has no one called me?" check up, right? So I know some things changed, but burnout's a real thing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it doesn't just affect you. Those things affect you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, man. That's when I start when I do a lot of workshops and I always start with the acknowledgement of the first overdose that I attended where the person didn't survive, and it wasn't through any error. It's just that we didn't get there soon enough. That guy, he was known as Carver. You might know him, Joey, and
Yeah.
there were no known pictures of him. Hardly anyone knew his real name, and but a lot of people, I knew him for 7 years when I showed up. That's different. That's what's different between a paramedic response or a fire response is I knew him, right? And
Yeah.
and that has marked me to this day, you know.
Anyone got questions for Ronnie in the panel here?
In real life, I'm really funny, guys.
I know.
Yeah.
Everyone's like sitting there, their faces is like, if the audience could see what I'm seeing, right?
Can I tell you about sitting in the Emmys?
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so this stuff isn't, this isn't ambition, right? Like you don't go into homelessness work and overdose prevention work to try to get to the Emmys in a documentary. Like there's no ambition here, right?
I would think that's probably the last route one would take to have success.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough route. So, I knew. So the backstory is you pointed out like that plaque of the Narcan Jesus, and a young guy. I was on my way to work at Insight one night, and I did 2 overdoses before I got to work, and as I was moving from one to
Just
another,
walking up the road.
yeah, and a guy said there go as I was going from the first to the second. A young guy said, "There goes the Narcan Jesus," right? And there were ambulances coming, and it was stable. And then I get up, kind of adrenalized, and I'm like, "Did you call me Narcan Jesus?" And this kid was laughing at me and stuff. And so then I go to work, I tell the story, and then it sort of ripples out, right? And then this locally famous street artist, Smokey Devil, he did a mural of me because I had attended to an overdose that he was involved in, and he never forgot me, and he wanted to tribute that. And along with that story, he called the mural Narcan Jesus. And so this film started as a short film about Smokey and my story. But then when it got funding, like it just got a lot of momentum, and it shifted from that to a more, comprehensive community, like including more community people, right?
Well, you deserve to be known as someone who gave selflessly all the time and with love. Like that's who you are. It's who you always were.
Thanks, Joey.
I want to commend you for all your hard work. Ronnie, you're an inspiration to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. It's touching to hear your story and how you've made a difference in the lives of others.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Can you tell us a little bit about this Smokey that you mentioned?
Yeah, Smokey's an amazing street artist. There's someone did a documentary about him recently called him the Underworld Street Reporter, because he became really he's a master. Like he can put a line on a wall and it's just perfect. It's unbelievable how like quick and talented he is. And he became kind of famous in this community because he started giving tributes to people who had passed, and would also write their story or say, go and get naloxone at this place, or these are the numbers of deaths, or ops is open, and he kind of became like this street level information piece with this amazing artwork. So yeah, he was even given the key to the city last year, so he's kind of gone from this like this graffiti writing kind of gangster type dude to being really celebrated in the community, and with you know, his story being told and spread far. So it's pretty cool, his redemption. He's not just a junkie anymore, and I know that that's a slur, but I'm using it intentionally of how people look down, like the stigma of people looking down on drug users and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it brings to memory the reality that dead people cannot improve.
They can't recover.
So, in order to get someone to that point, and that's what people I don't think who have any contact with or any understanding of, what a safe consumption site like the safe injection site did for people, and how many people I knew that had gone there, and that constant interaction with the nurse who was on shift and the workers who'd be like, well, here's where you can find this resource, and hey, we'll get you into treatment.
Yeah. It's hard though, like I was down there recently, and with you might say, like, I'm pretty comfortable referring to our medical system as, facing collapse in many areas. Burnout rates in medical professionals are high. It's hard to replace them, and it's there are some shifts where there are no nurses available at Insight. And years ago, it would have been unthinkable to open the site without a nurse. And now the staff there have to adapt to maybe a nurse isn't available to even show up, So that means people aren't getting wound care. And that's with the xylazine, like this tranq drug, one of its symptoms is like really open sores. It's really awful, right? So wound care is becoming increasingly important and stuff like that. I wanted to say earlier, someone asked about where to find. It was Hank, right? No,
it was Mark asking.
It was Mark. Sorry. So, I mean, I live in a bit of a bubble here in Vancouver in the downtown east side. It's readily available in a lot of different environments. It should be available in pharmacies across Canada, right? And different provinces have different supply. In BC, there's two types of naloxone. One is injectable, and the other is they call it intranasal. It's like a little, think of Dristan or one of those like nasal sprays that you can just like kind of mist up someone's nose. And the intranasal stuff is 10 times stronger than the injectable. So with the amount of overdoses and the amount of naloxone distributed, it's cost prohibitive in BC to distribute intranasal naloxone extensively. So they haven't yet. You have to pay for intranasal. It's available, but it's 40 or 50 bucks. But the injectable is available at any pharmacy. And then in other provinces, I think the intranasal, it's intense to like, if you're not familiar, like to draw up, a syringe full of naloxone and inject someone. It's a pretty intense intervention if you're not used to it. That's why the intranasal is like, it's just a blast in either nostril, like, and but the pharmacy they should be readily available.
Hey, Mike, you have a question?
Yeah, do you know if, like, in Winnipeg, if they offer the same? Because I see that everybody like at places and organizations, they have Narcan, but can you only get it, like, as if I know of someone who is super sick or has an overdose, or knows of someone who has an addiction, where would I be able to go to get those kits?
Well, I don't have the Winnipeg information like right in front of me. I apologize for that, but pharmacies are a place to go. And then I know there are active harm reduction organizations in Winnipeg. Some good people I know are working in them. And I know those same people are also, working hard to try to expand services there, but They're, there's just a lot of fear and suspicion around these services, and language like enabling, and it's like, that's really, in my mind, obsolete language, like we're caring for people in crisis, and hopefully giving them a reason to make a step towards wholeness and health and whatever that may look like, right?
Well, for a lot of people, that was the only place they could go where someone actually acted like they cared about them.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, it's a reality. It's connection, right? There's a guy, oh dang, my memory. And I'll try to get the source of the quote, but essentially he says that the opposite of addiction is not abstinence or sobriety, it's connection.
It's
right?
true.
And you can see that playing out in hopefully in the movie, but in these sites and these programs wherever you go. It's really it activates me. It gets me excited. When as I've said, I've been able to travel, internationally and with this film and with my nonprofit and support people doing the work. And I just get charged up when I see that connection point that is love, right? It's love and compassion. It's like it's inspiring.
I was just going to mention the first Beacon of Hope, Manitoba's first supervised safe consumption site, didn't open until July of this past year. So it took that long, but it's good that it says that it's Indigenous led, and
Awesome.
it'll be open next year in Winnipeg, but exactly where it'll end still to be figured out. But it looks like that could be a step next forward in reducing stigma.
Awesome, man. That's a good update.
Well, we're going to wrap this up.
If you want to see the Frankie videos.
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do next, Frankie. I was going to just add in a final note, you look at me and here's someone who's worked in addictions and suffered from addictions. And here I am doing good today, right? There's hope for people, but you can't give up on them. You got to give them a chance. All right, we're going to watch some Frankie videos now.
Yes. You forgot to add me and Justin in the weather segments.
Yeah, well, we just didn't have very much time tonight, man. And same with Hank. And same with Karen and Imogen.
Hey, everybody, it's Frankie McDonald, my dad.
Everyone can hear that?
Yep.
Good, here we go.
Hey, everybody, it's Frankie McDonald, my dad, Frank McDonald. One of his latest songs on the SoundCloud is Fireproof. He wrote a song all by himself. He played his own guitar and things like this. He did a great job. He wrote his own lyrics and played the guitar all by himself and mastered a song, recorded a song. Fireproof, that's my dad's one of his latest songs on his SoundCloud. He did it all by himself. He did a great job from Frank down. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station live from Sydney, Nova Scotia. Heavy rains headed towards southern Florida on Sunday, October the 6th, 2024. It's going to bring 100+ millimeters of rain. It's going to last for the next few days on. It's going to last through Monday, October 7th, Tuesday, October 8th, and Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of rain in Miami, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, surrounding areas. It's going to be hydraulic outlook. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain that can cause sewers to back up the streets. I urge everyone to wear your rain gears, rubber boots, and raincoats to keep you dry. Don't walk through the puddles. Avoid the puddles to go for a walk when you drive a car. Don't drive a car through the puddles as well. Since you got the Florida Panthers against Boston Bruins in Miami, Florida on Tuesday, October 8, 2024. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Miami, Florida that day. Heavy rain's going to continue in Miami, Florida. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Miami, Florida and the surrounding areas as well. Be extra prepared. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain starting on Sunday, October 6th, 2024 in Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, and the surrounding areas as well, and the Alligator Alley as well. If everybody living in southern Florida, be prepared for heavy rain on Sunday, October 6th, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy rain. Stay dry, be safe. Hey everybody, my dad, Frank McDonald, made his latest song on SoundCloud, Coast to Coast, He wrote a song all by himself. He wrote the lyrics all by himself. He played guitar all by himself and mastered a song. He did work all by himself making a song. Coast to Coast, that's my dad. Frank McDonald's latest song is SoundCloud. Mystic Mist. The title of the song is Coast to Coast. My dad, Frank McDonald, wrote lyrics. He wrote his own song and things like this from Frank Down.
Oh, Frankie, have I told you lately I love you? Just
He's making a lot of music in these days. He's busy writing songs, playing guitar and things like this.
tell your dad I say hi. He's a good man.
And guess what? Karen's doing great so far. Hey, Karen, that some of those places in the States, they get large hail during tornado season. Hail's capable of breaking car windows.
We do have 3 extra minutes still, so we can go to 8:03 to make up for time tonight. We didn't talk to a lot of you about your local weather, and I'm sorry. But here's a chance.
That's okay. Who do you want to pick first?
Someone talk. Time's ticking.
Well, I just
he's been desperately waiting for the chance. So if we don't, he's just gonna have it. He's gonna have it out first.
Anyways, the weather is kind of getting a little bit interesting over the next few days. It's more like Manitoba is finally getting what that cold fall-like weather we've been all looking for, and Justin and I have been talking, and it's supposed to get down to about +2 degrees tonight. There's going to be a hard frost across southern Manitoba. And I'm looking at Brandon probably getting below 0 tonight. For those on the radio, it'll probably be, this is like before you guys listen to it. So, and surprisingly, next week looks like we're going to get into a warm up. I see our temperatures Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday getting into the 20s again. Weird, but I'll take it.
Brandon, I hear you're going to be 0 tonight.
Wind event on Friday nights.
Hey, Brandon Hauk.
Oh, he's muted.
Here in Wilkie, Saskatchewan, if I'm watching Aurora Borealis on Saturday night,
oh yeah,
how windy is it going to be out there at Saturday night?
You'll be blown away. I think I'll get blown away.
I just I want to ask.
Your hat to your head.
I was going to ask Ronnie because I think it's important. And I came in late, so I may have missed it. But how can somebody link arms with you and help your cause? I think it's important for people to know when they're listening or watching.
Great question. Yeah.
I was muted. I appreciate that, Justin. My nonprofit is at the website is thezeroblock.org, and I'm on socials as well. Well, that would be Instagram and Facebook as Zero Block Society.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is it 0 the number or 0 spelled out?
Spelled out.
With an O in the 0, not a 0. It's been a great show. We've had a full.
If you want to follow me on social media, my Blue Sky is at Frankie MacD. My Twitter is at Frankie MacD. Now X, and my Linktree is Frankie MacDonald. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD94. My TikTok is FrankDonald94. My Clapper is FrankDonald94. My Twitch is FrankDonald94. My Snapchat is Frankie MECDON. My YouTube channel is Dogs and Wolves. And my LinkedIn is Frankie MacDonald. Best luck to you. I'm Frank McDonald. Here's the Comedeorological Weather Report every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Atlantic.
I'm Joey Only, the host, and right there is producer Imogen, who hasn't said much tonight. How you doing, Imogen?
Yeah, I'm upright, so I'm therefore okay. We'll go with that.
Did we do good tonight?
I guess so. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, good.
I'm just still.
Karen, how you doing tonight?
I'm just still
I'm good.
What were you making in your kitchen? It seemed like it was pretty late at night to be so busy over there.
Yeah.
In my kitchen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I kind of was making
Just
some
canning my
spaghetti with
salsa.
my homemade canned spaghetti sauce.
Oh, hell yeah. That is awesome.
That was close.
Funny news story. 8 bulls escaped the Massachusetts rodeo and charged through a mall parking lot. This happened on September 22nd in North
cool.
Attleboro, Massachusetts.
It's like the
So
running
you
of
guys
the
can look
bulls,
into that if
except
you want.
nobody wants to be running from them.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of bull to me.
It sounds like a lot of bull. It's been a good show tonight. That was Justin Ordle from the Weather Center of Manitoba. We had Hank Vliestra, Storm Chaser in Wilkie, Saskatchewan. Brandon Howe, co-host as always. Producer Imogen Bailey as always. Mike McGregor from Weather Center of Manitoba. And of course, meteorologist Mark Ingalls was here. And star of the show, Frankie McDonald. And our special guest tonight, Ronnie Grigg. And just love you, buddy. Just love
Ronnie
you.
it used to be regular during 2021.
Used to be regular. And, Ron, we always love to have you back on.
Kudos to Ronnie. Kudos.
Hey,
That was
Karen,
amazing.
how was the weather?
We all give Ronnie an applause.
Thanks, everyone. The weather, Frankie?
How was the weather in your area, Karen?
Oh, it's tonight. I actually got out for a walk, Frankie. The rain quit. Maybe tomorrow night, not so lucky, but today was good.
Hey, Karen, southern Australia and Perth, Australia got hit by high winds and heavy rain, and Taiwan and eastern China got hit by typhoon.
Well, they can keep that there, Frankie. I don't want that here.
Well, that's the end of the show, unless you're watching the live stream or unless you're tuned in at CFR or CKUW or no, that's the end of the show for you. Unless you're at Joey Only Care Be Weather Dude YouTube channel where the live stream's going on, that's the end of the show for you. That's the show.
That's the show.
That's the show.
That's
Right,
it.
guys.
That's the show. Good night, Frankie.
Night,
I almost
Frankie.
got it in before he was gone.
He's gone. He's gone.
Oh man, he didn't quite hear that whole thing, Joey.
No, I
One of
know.
these
But
times.
I've been trying to remind myself before I say that's the show to say good night, Frankie. See you,
Yeah.
bye, buddy.
He's gonna
'Cause he'll be gone.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Yeah, 8 on the button. He just disappears. He vanished. Like he really, I'm kind of surprised that there isn't like a cloud fog outline of him, or just like a little puff of smoke. It's kind of his style.
He's a busy man.
Yeah.
We should all make a meme of Frankie disappearing with a puff of
Live more
smoke.
live streams right now and video calling everyone he knows.
Yep.
20
Yeah, that's the thing, eh?
notifications right now that Frankie is calling them.
is that what he does?
Yeah, he does. He video calls. He'll set up a video chat and he'll just call like 20 people. But he doesn't want to talk to all of them. He wants everyone to talk to each other. He just wants to host the party. He doesn't want to be the center of it. He just wants to be the host and see everyone else get along. And it gets weird.
It's been a long time since I clicked accept on one of those. And it's not because
As it gets
probably
weird.
it's just because I'm kind of shy. It's like honestly, when my phone rings, like nobody has my cell phone number. And when the house line rings, I just let the answering machine get it if Josh doesn't first. It's like,
Well, and a lot of the answering machines now are automated, like AI voices, and I'm like, whatever happened to just having your personal little voice message on answering machines nowadays?
dude, it was so awesome back in the day and had the tape recorder and you could like record your own, and you change it all the time and it'd be so fun. Or you'd be at someone else's house and they're like, oh, I'll be back in a second. I just gotta go to the garage. You're like, then you change their answering machine real quick. They come back at the house and you're like, and that was back in the era when you could drive by with a garage door opener and just drive down the street and click it and open everybody's garages. Remember
You
that?
know what I see less now of too is used to be more common. You'd see like on Facebook, for instance, somebody who had left their phone unattended and their friend gets a hold of it and posts a ridiculous Facebook status update that makes zero sense for that person. Yeah, I used to see that more often.
Those are always great. Yeah. It's like, you got hacked, didn't you?
Yep. I have, but not recently. My kids used to always leave photos. They would get your phone take a whole bunch of selfies, like 100 of them, and just leave them there for you to discover, right? That's what used to happen to all parents everywhere.
How many
It's
kids you
it's
got,
pretty
Hank?
scary when you get
3 or
hacked,
4?
especially when your business is on Facebook. Your account's hacked, and you think, "Uh-oh, there goes my whole business."
Did that happen to you once, Justin? I think you said that
It
you
did.
had.
It's happened to me before. Yeah, it scares the hell out of me.
No doubt. How many kids you
All right,
got, Hank? 3 or 4?
guys, I'm out. See you later. I'm gonna go enjoy my dinner now.
Good night,
Enjoy.
Karen.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I have 4 kids, Joey,
That's amazing.
and there's only one at home though. There's 2 in Edmonton, and one in near Lloydminster, going to school in Vermilion.
Yeah, but you used to raise them,
I did.
like all 4 of them.
Yeah, all at once.
That's a task. One is enough.
It is, especially when they're a baby.
Uh-huh.
Well, you know what I realized, because like back in the day, the ex-wife was like, how come you don't want a baby? And I was like, no, I don't want a baby. And then one day I was like, maybe I could handle having 2 of them, but not 1. Like, I'm an only child. I don't want to fucking do that to another kid. And then I see the way my 2 kids are together, and I realized it was the only way to have gone, right? But I mean, of course, that's family decisions, but they're so good together. And the one babysits the other, and
It's not always like that.
You should see, Ronnie, you wouldn't believe how good my kids turned out. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I can believe it. How old are they?
Willow's now 12, just turned last month, and Waylon's 9.
Wow, that's awesome.
9. But it's like people couldn't believe how bad I was compared to how great my mom is, right? So,
Yeah.
but, they could at least say, well, he did have a terrible dad, so I guess it makes sense. He's a troubled kid, But you can look at mine; it doesn't make any sense why they're so good. It's like, it's like that's Leia and Joey's kids. I remember them. Like,
That's awesome, man.
well, Matt Lee just stopped by, and he's moved to Quesnel, and this is one of the best double bass players in BC, as far as I'm concerned. We're gonna start the band again.
Oh wow.
We're gonna start the Outlaw Band. It might just be him and me, because I was like, well, we only need 2 of us. He's a slap player on that big double bass, right? And if I get stomping and kicking, I was like, fuck, we don't need a whole band. 2 of us, ching ching ching, But he had this new girlfriend there with him, and he's like telling her, he's like, and I was kind of like living vicariously my old life through his story, like, oh yeah, I was. He's like, this guy was the craziest. And he's like telling some story where it's like late night after a gig, and I'm like stammering off the road, and there's guys are just like, oh, where are you going now? I was like, I don't know, fucking sleep in a ditch. I don't give a fuck. And just walked off into the dark. And it's like, yeah, I guess I was kind of the craziest back then, as he's telling these stories.
Crazier than now?
Oh yeah, I'm like, very mellow, man.
I think the last time I saw you play, Joey, you had a black eye.
That's right, because I fought those 3 guys in fucking barrier.
I walk into the Wise Hall downstairs, and you're like playing away. You're like, is that Ronnie? Ronnie, I got smoked or something. Right in the middle of your song,
Is this related though? In high school, I was in choir up until about grade 10, and I admit I probably was one of the best singers on the planet. Now, when you guys ask me to sing, I don't even sound remotely close to what I used to sound. But I think even with like playing an instrument or singing, there's the combination. You got to do both. Otherwise, if one's gonna sound off, then the other one's gonna sound off too.
Yeah, it was never about the quality of my singing. It was about my vocalist styling. That's what I was good at.
Johnny Cash type style?
Kind of, I guess, eh? Yeah, I was just like, that's because Ronnie, these guys, they were across the hall from my room in the hotel, and I just finished playing all night. And what have I done, like in towns across Canada back in the day, is, hey, there's people that are at the show across the hall, you grab the bottle of whiskey and knock on their door and be like, "Hey, want a drink? You saw you at the night having the show, having fun all night." These guys just stream out and start fucking hitting me. So of course I fight them back and get back into my room temporarily. And then it like dawned on me, I just got a black eye on night 1 of a 14 show tour because I decided to I agreed to play at the Barrier Motor Inn.
Oh,
the money was good, but it wasn't worth the black eye. And then what I did was I kicked a hole in their door and stuck my head in like fucking Jack Nicholson. And this is a true story. And I yelled, "The cops are coming. So if you want to finish the fucking job, you better steal." Here I am, cowards. Yelling in the door. They didn't come out. And it turns out 2 of those guys were on probation for a violent crime. And there was no trial. It was just back to jail for them, which is great because I don't want to go to Kamloops or Barrie or whatever for court dates.
Anyways, guys, I'm gonna head off. It was nice having you. Nice hanging out. I mean, nice meeting Ronnie.
Yeah, fights.
I'm getting to the point where I'm probably gonna pass on a little bit.
Sounds good, buddy. We'll
Long
see you
day
next
for
time.
me. So
to answer your question. Good night, Mike. To answer your question,
Night.
Hank, this is Joey in his nearing 50 years old phase of life, where he's not drinking anymore and he's raising kids, and this is a very mellow incarnation of that which was the Joey Only Outlaw band. Yeah, man. We didn't just tour Canada, but we sold weed and mushrooms as we went to pay for the gas, man. Like we were nuts.
Yeah, you can rewrite that story. I'm looking forward to you playing more music, man.
I'm ready.
Yeah, you're
ready now.
Great songwriter and,
thanks, buddy.
And singer, and musician, and yeah,
ready.
Venting yourself is important.
After getting, after the divorce and all the court dates, and that's all cleared up and stuff. Life's good between us.
Right.
But that and getting sober, and I went through a couple of years where I didn't touch a guitar. I'm starting to pick it up, and I'm starting to feel good about it, and that attitude that as a showman, and I can feel it.
Awesome, man.
Undefeated, but it just takes a while when you get sober. It's like, man, we were the band that, and Matt reminded me of the other story, because one of the things I would do if we had a gig, say, like here at the theater in Wells during the Arts Wells Festival, where no one's driving and we're all staying relatively around the venue. I would, just before we go on stage in the green room, I'd pull out of my bag a big bottle of whiskey, slam it down, and say, "It's whiskey set tonight, boys." And what whiskey set meant was we were not allowed to stop playing until the bottle was empty. The band rule, and that there was some hilarious shows because of it. People. We were very famous for how off the wall we were willing to go, while still keeping in time and in tune. So, to go from that to being like, what kind of showman can I be now? Like, I don't know. Sobriety wise, I don't want to go play those same rooms. I don't care if the bar sells out of beer tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Soft cedar shows, I guess.
Yeah.
You find it.
Hell, even you and me drinking bottles of vodka after the gigs there.
I got 6 months sober date like just 2 days ago.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. I got into a bit of a dark spot as well, and so I got a lot of good supports around me, and I'm really grateful. And I'm not quite sure how to tell that story in its fullness, but I will. But that feels like something. 6 months,
No, that's you're on your way. That's what 6 months is, right? And I knew you were suffering for a while.
Yeah, it's good to have some rules,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was suffering, there was like this change from there's Joey, he's hilarious, party with that guy, to me just parking the vehicle out in the bush somewhere and pounding a bottle of liquor and falling asleep on the ground. You know what I mean?
That's a dark
Some
place.
change there, and it was a trauma triggered change that happened.
It's interesting, you know, like I've seen in your, you know, you document your life well, regularly, right? And there's something about it where when you change like that, a major change, like these like kind of war stories you're talking about, how you used to be, and that shift, like you shrink your world, right? In order to recalibrate, right? And that time of shrinking your world can feel, it can go two ways, right? It can feel really lonely and isolating, but it can also be inspiring, right? Like that my home, the place I'm in, whatever is my world, and this is what I'm creating, and it's up to me, but it's also mine, you know? And it's like it's not easy, but it's really I've seen you do that over the past few years, and now you're saying you feel, you're recreating yourself, right?
Kind of
And
ready now.
yeah, 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 it's good, man, because it can feel strange when you have to shrink your world, you know?
And I did,
You did.
like, a lot.
Yeah, yep. But you still got a lot of people in your corner, man, you know?
And I guess that's the thing too, is when you first go through a big sober change, and you think to yourself, well, you know, now I'm making this great choice, things are going to start getting awesome. And it's not how it works, right? It's like, but now I'm at the 4-year point and beyond, and I'm looking at the growth of you know, how the show is doing, how my YouTube channel is doing, my presence in the community, um, you know, how many hellos I get everywhere I go in Quesnel and places. And, you know, I realized that thing that didn't happen right away, it took its time, but it's coming, it's here. You know, those positive things you were hoping for.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
gonna
a
change my life.
long journey, right?
Yeah, people don't want to just give you credit right away either.
Yeah.
You know, especially because, like I say, I was kind of a crazy asshole at the end. Stopped being the life of the party and stopped even going to the party, just disappearing to drink. You know, and it wasn't the first time I'd been through the ringer with addictions, but
Yeah. People who go through addiction and recovery, they have to change who's around them so much, and the old group they just can't relate anymore, right? Just can't relate to those people anymore.
yeah,
And you have to have a new group.
people say, well, they
And
weren't
it's
really your
hard to
friends
get a
then.
new group.
But that's not true. Yeah, you were friends. It's just that now you don't have an activity in common, especially when the activity permeates so much behavior. You can't be around it.
I've encountered some people who are like, "Oh, that's good, you're taking a break. I can't wait till you're back drinking," right? It's like, okay, cool. You know, like, thanks for all the support and encouragement. You know?
Yeah, they clearly don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel good, man. Like, doesn't mean I'm happy all the time. But you know, one thing that I was like steady on when I made this change was like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I can't do it. I'm not going to like call myself weak. I'm not going to say I'm always an addict. I'm always an alcoholic. That kind of shit. You know, I have no willpower. No, I said the opposite. It's like, well, it's been only 3 days, but I'm no longer an alcoholic. That's I'm done.
That's cool,
You
man.
know, I'm done. That was it. My brain broke, and I was like, I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done with all of it. You know, and I didn't say to myself, I can't do it, or I need, you know, a lot of other people won't have that experience, I'm sure, but I had to tell myself the opposite. It was like, I've spent my life telling myself that I'm garbage and that I can't do it.
That's
trying
great.
to prove to myself and others that I'm not garbage, like a class clown.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's something like I don't want to slag like the programs, right? Like 12 steps and stuff like that. Because they have saved people's lives, and I know people who like that is their structure, right? That's their guardrails in life, is those programs and so on. So I'm not going to take that away from them. But that what you're saying, that thing that says we can't heal, we can't change, we can't, you know, is I love hearing that, man. Like to say, like I'm not always going to identify or define myself by that past experience of like chaos and substances and whatever, you know. Um, I am going to change and heal and grow and, you know.
Yeah, and it's easier to do when you're in your 40s and you look and you have beautiful little kids. You're like, what am I doing?
Yep, for sure.
You know, and I tell them often, like, you don't remember, but, there's a reason, I tell them straight up, there's a reason why I'm the way I am now. It's because of you. Because I loved you. And I was going to die and leave you with no dad. I wasn't going to do to you what happened to me. Yeah, man.
I like it.
Like it a lot.
Just giggles right and left, eh, guys? We're a fun bunch.
Well, we've
No.
had a couple dead episodes like this, right? Because what do we, we've had a bunch of guests in a row. Like we had Bob Hollowinko on last week, and he just saved this little. He's in search and rescue, and he just saved this little girl that. Well, he didn't, but he was part of the organizing, part of the staff that put together this big search and rescue. Whoever found her, I don't know specifically, but
Oh yeah, up in northern BC, yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
close to where Hilding's from there,
Mm.
and it was a pretty serious conversation.
For sure, man.
And then we had Adam Skinner a few weeks on before that, and it was like very weather nerdy, serious conversation. It's been a couple of weeks. We haven't had many like just fuck around episodes like we, for the last few weeks, or that's okay. I like when it's always a little different,
Yeah. You're in Winnipeg, right, Justin?
Brandon, Manitoba,
Brandon.
about 200 kilometers west of Winnipeg. So
Cool.
And 2,000 times nicer.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer here, but I mean, we got a lot of. I mean, it's a small city, but there's a lot of issues going on here too with drug overdoses and lots of homeless people, but we got a lot of great programs here, and you really see the people of Brandon come together and kind of link arms and try and help people as best as we can, and it really hits more here too. Like you say, the cold weather's coming, and like I mean, we get way colder than British Columbia. I mean, especially southern BC, like -40, -50 wind chills, like like every winter there's CBC articles or wherever, and people are dying on the streets, sleeping in bus shacks or whatever. Like it's a really sad situation. So like, and I'm passionate about the weather, and one of those passions is bringing safety and like just like alerting the public of what's happening. But I mean, it's a whole different ballgame when you're homeless. You're not having a cell phone with data and getting alerts from Facebook. Like I do what I can do, but ultimately, we need people on the ground like you, and we need these shelters to be opened and more funding, and it's really hard on our homeless people, and I just love the work you do, man.
Appreciate it.
I just found Brandon, Manitoba would be such a nice community, though, in general. Every time I was there, playing gigs there. Twice I played at the Folk Fest, and spend the whole weekend there, part of that.
It's very tight-knit communities as well. So,
in fact, the last time I played at the Folk Fest, I actually worked for them, so I was there for a full week before the festival, and I was using the tractor to set up the fences and all that, and it's a picturesque town, and I like the weather there, and I like the valley, and it's just I like Brandon, and people are nice, and
Yeah.
I was still drinking back then. The double-decker bar was awesome. And
It's still down there. It's still down
yeah,
there.
yeah, played there. Got a poster here somewhere with my name on the double-decker bar.
Wow. I've only been there once, and it was for a storm chase gathering. We just decided to have drinks there. So
pretty neat place. But yeah, there's like,
Yeah.
yeah, Brandon's a nice town, and seems like Wilkie's a pretty nice town, and Wells is pretty nice. Even Quesnel, like, it's got a reputation as being one of the most violent per capita towns in Canada, and drugs and this and that. But there's some of that in West Quesnel. Yeah, it's a bit degenerate, but all in all, like, the region's very nice, the town's very nice. It's rural is the way to go. It's when
Yeah,
possible.
I mean, like it's nice here, but like I mean, with the homelessness and like I find that Brandon, there's a lot of struggle right now with like your mental health because like I mean, years ago you wouldn't hear somebody going around with like a knife trying to knife people or and I mean that's becoming more of a frequent thing in my town, that there's just a lot of mental health stuff going on. I think it's definitely due to drugs and some of the homelessness things and I think it's definitely getting worse. But I think what you kind of touched on earlier, Ronnie, too, is that it's getting harder for people to like afford to live, whether it's in a home or to rent somewhere. We're getting more people on the streets, and with that brings more arguments in between, with the homeless people, and it's very unstable on the streets, and then that leads to throughout the entire city. It doesn't just stay on the streets. It's somebody wants to go for a walk, and then who's out on the streets is homeless people. So it's a lot of interaction between the people that may live in a home and your homeless people, and obviously they're less fortunate than the people who live in a home, and it's just some of those interactions are becoming more hard to see, and more frequent. I don't know if you could touch on that maybe.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's important to say, right? Like I think, because my perspective is that the person who is the least safe in Canada is the person who's living in a tent outside in the winter, right? That doesn't mean that other people in our communities don't aren't concerned about their safety, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to say, right? Because like and you bringing up mental health experiences, that's a pretty important one because I mean there are a number. I don't like there aren't adequate supports for mental health experiences, and so
Trauma drives addiction.
yeah, yeah. Trauma drives it. You know what else does is just neurodivergence, right? Like I have ADHD, and who knows what other you can add the alphabet beside my name of experiences I have, and that fuels. Now that I'm sober, I'm sitting there going, "Oh, my mind is a shit show, man. Like it's racing constantly, and I can't control it. It's not just about substances, right? It's about our physiology too, but trauma as well is like really key, right? And I'll even say that there are organizations and health authorities and all that who are trying innovative ways, especially with the co-occurrence, right, of mental health and substance misuse. And so we're trying, right? Like people are trying. That doesn't mean we're doing it well. And it can be, and we have a stressed system, medical system. So when someone is in a mental health crisis and they have to wait 9 hours in a white room in a chair to get assessed, that's stressful, right?
That
That
gives you
does
mental health problems.
exactly,
Yeah.
man. It's a trauma in itself, right?
Yep.
Sure
And
is.
and so we're not doing it well for any number of
Mhm.
reasons. You can like even be, you know,
Well,
kind and say the system is stressed, so we can't do it well or whatever.
we could just say
But
there's like this base level of expected trauma that's going to happen, and it's probably been more or less the same for quite a long time. But there's been changes that have happened during that time, and the cost of living and affordability is definitely one. So it's like the more stumbling blocks you put in front of people, the
Mhm.
more difficult it is to manage the mental health when dealing with the stumbling blocks that are the stressors, right? So you have that. But there's this other thing that's going on too, and it's post-modernity based, and I think this is also a reason why conspiracy theories have taken off so much, and why people don't have a sense of truth anymore. There doesn't seem to be a meaning for people anymore. They've lost sort of this sense of like purpose or community, like something's been broken socially amongst humanity.
Yeah.
Let's lay everybody out into big suburban sprawls that do this, and nobody knows their neighbors' names, and no one feels connected anymore. No one has a sense of purpose.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to
The
say
meaning
too.
of life, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah, everybody has a cell phone now. You go out to the restaurant and everybody's face to a phone and not having a conversation with each other. I was in the hospital with my wife because we're having a baby, and I'm going down to the cafeteria for supper, and there's a nice man there, and he offered to buy my meal, and so I said sure. And he said, well, could you please come and sit down? I've been here with my wife in the ICU for like months, it's like over 6 months. And every time I come down here and try and sit beside someone, they look at me funny and they just stand up and leave the table, and I can't have a conversation with anyone. And I'm just like, that's what's wrong with society right now, is not having that face-to-face conversation. Because I honestly think we're closer than we are, spread further away from each other in terms of our ideas or whatever it may be, just having a face-to-face conversation. And, so somebody knows that they're a part of like the city, or like they're a part of the world. Like they're not by themselves, like we're all working together here, and I feel like everybody should know that they're a part of the greater good. And so we had a fantastic conversation with each other, and I could just see like his shoulders, just like the weight come off his shoulders. Like, man, somebody cares about me, and he's sitting here and just having supper with me and just talking with one another.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and it used to be like that.
Yep.
People would just talk, sit down and eat. But this thing's always dinging now.
I used to be considered an introvert compared to people of my age, but now as I'm older, of course, I have changed a lot, but I'm more on the extrovert side. Like people at my work, they think that I, am the talkative one, and I've never been the talkative one, but I partly have changed, and partly everybody else has changed around me, right? Younger people are not as talkative as our generation was. Well, no. And then you throw on top of everything that the drugs are more chaotic than ever and stronger, and that another thing that makes everything harder now.
So I'm traumatized. I can't afford to live. Everything's difficult socially and functionally. There's so many fucking rules to remember. There doesn't seem to be any purpose to anything anymore. There's no collective vision for where we're taking our society. There's no spirit of meaning and truth. Here's what we plan to do. We're gonna build a nation and do it together and help everybody, or whatever that is. We could give lots of examples of like what could fill that hole, right? And on top of it, your drugs are extra crazy too, and they'll make you twitch and eventually go into a state of psychosis you may or may not recover from.
Yep. I think that is like what you guys are talking about. What we're talking about is the struggle. Is that like I've got some pretty strong political like feelings and viewpoints, right? And I'm not gonna deny that. And I know a lot of other people do too that don't agree with mine. But this like indecency that has become so common in how we talk about those differences is just like, it's mind-blowing to me how quickly it's accelerated to just this awful discourse. And I think the challenge for me and for us, is to find something middle, like not moderate. I don't mean moderate, but a way of like insisting on like what you were saying, Justin, of connecting with the person, even if it's no longer the social norm to sit beside a stranger and talk to them, or to insist on in our differences politically of being decent, right? Without compromising our own values and just it's not easy, but I think that's the challenge of our time, rather than being polarized and just vicious with each other, you know.
Yeah, some American on the Facebook called me a privileged yuppie today.
I saw that, man.
It's like
Can I borrow some money?
Yuppie.
some right wing angry guys. Well, privileged yuppies like you, It's like, dude. Come up here and I'll fucking shoot you in the head.
Yeah, that's yuppie for you.
Yeah, really.
Well, it's funny because it's the Americans that have supposed to be totally have all the guns, right?
Yeah.
Just like, ugh. Like, but that's the state now. It's like, so in his mind, and they've redefined the boundaries and everything. So it's like, in reality, politically in this country, we don't have a left-wing party. We have center right, and right-wing parties. There's no one's actually challenging capitalism as a plan. No one's challenging the economic order.
That's fair.
All parties are still serving the same economic system.
Mm-hmm.
They just have different ideas how to further it, right? So no one's challenging the overall program. But somehow in this guy's mind,
you just need to be with Dan.
Someone who's in the middle, they will call you know what I mean? Like they'll demonize you.
Radical far left.
Point, right?
Yeah.
To the point is like, I must be some liberal, yuppie, socialist, vegan in his mind. I don't know. Right.
Justin,
just
remind me.
Paint everybody with a brush and say, I know what you are. I don't have to think. I don't have to think about it because I know what you are. Paint. That's incredibly unintelligent behavior, but that's become acceptable.
Yeah, all those insults and everything. Hey, Justin, remind me the name and age of your youngster there again.
Yeah, his name's Jasper. He's just a little over a month old.
Awesome.
You have not gotten much sleep in the last month.
Say hello. My wife or I have not. But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him.
That's the best.
Hey, Jasper. Say hi.
Oh man, he's gonna be handsome, man.
Yeah.
Look at him.
Just like me.
Yeah. Oh man.
It changes your life more than anything, having a child. More than
that's
any
incredible.
other thing.
That's how you can tell I'm also not the same Joe I used to be. I'm like in tears all the time. I'm like, oh, look, Justin's baby. Oh, Ronnie's talking about downtown East Side. Oh, it's like, I'm still hard as fuck in a lot of ways, but man, I really got soft.
It's okay, man. Let it flow,
Yeah.
But it's like when you talk about mental health, like for men especially, like it's just so hard, it seems, for males to reach out for help, like it's just like a brick wall, and like we just need to we need to cry more. We need to show empathy with each other, especially more, because then it'll just open up everybody else to be able to just be free with their mental health or whatever it may be.
Free with who they actually could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Is part of it. It's like allowing your emotions to exist is like allowing yourself to exist.
Yeah.
I forget what movie we were watching last weekend, and I had a teary moment, and it was like something with the kids that was like not a sappy movie at all. Like, I don't know if it was like The Wrath of Khan or I don't know what it was. We watched a bunch of movies last weekend. The weather was garbage, right? And I'm just like, man, I can't watch Forrest Gump now and not get all, oh, it's so sad. It's like I turned into it.
I remember one time I was watching a movie in the theaters with my family, and it was I don't know if it was this boyfriend, girlfriend. The girlfriend had cancer and died in the end, or whatever it was. One of those kind of movies. And I'm the only one out of my family just bawling my eyes out walking out of the theater. My dad's like, "Oh, you really cried," and everything. And it's like men get put to shame for crying. It's like, no, that's totally backwards. Like,
Yeah.
like we can cry like anybody else. Like we're supposed to be this tough person all the time. Like we're human.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like I weep or anything. It's just the
Yeah.
eyes well up, and I'm like, oh,
Maybe it'll come yet, Joey. Maybe it'll come yet.
probably not.
No.
Probably not. But I like the way those releases feel.
It is
I'm okay
good.
with them.
I'm
okay
one
with
of those guys. I believe everything you guys are saying, but can I actually go through and behave that way? No, not really. I just I wasn't raised that way either.
Yeah,
like most of us.
Yeah, well,
well, you guys are all much older than me, so you're raised in be tough, be strong. I'm a little bit younger, so it kind of changes as the years go by. I find
everything they said about what they did to kids in Generation X. It's all true.
You know what? I grew up in Sudbury, in one of the mining towns outside of Sudbury, Ontario. But my father, he was like he was worked in like one of the support trades. He was a
I
carpenter.
still got you pinned.
He was underground for a bit when he first started, but then his career was as a carpenter. But that I saw my dad cry regularly. Like he was really emotionally present and aware and all of this stuff, right? And he would have been like 100 years old this year. He was born in 1924. He really sort of defied his generation. Like most men were damaged, right? And angry, like and only given
Yeah.
you can either laugh or be angry, like only those two legitimate emotions. But my father like was, I don't know, he was different, right? And it's obviously impacted me. Like it's like I've been told that I just turned 57, and I've been told that for my generation, I'm also defy my generation in a way of being emotionally aware and whatever, right? But yeah, it's interesting to be around men my age who they're very ill-equipped, to migrate the variety of scenarios that life throws their way.
Well, and society's trying to double down on going back to like a man, woman. That's the way it is. Like people are pushing for that regressive attitude, right? I mean, that kind of emotional stuff. I mean, it started with me, I guess, when the kids were born, and it's not like I'm super emotional all the time, but surviving, trying to end my life, getting sober, and it's like I'm a lot more in touch with how real everything is sometimes, and it's just like, and I was always a super hypersensitive person. That's partly why I was a substance user. Could turn off.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because it's like the way my brain works. I don't know if people know this about me, but it's like sometimes I look across the room. It's like have you ever seen like a LiDAR scan or like a way like a 3-dimensional scan? It's like my brain's like that TV edge corner. It's like I'm so spatially aware all the time, and then physically aware of people and movements and talking and sounds and wind. And it's like partly why I got good at weather is because I just small things from the time I was young I would notice right away, like and I had to dull that in order to function for a lot of my life because I was in so much pain.
Hyper processing,
yeah.
On top of it,
yeah, and so now I can just be that, and that's partly why I love being a firefighter, a wildland firefighter, because I can go out there and turn that on and be like, I'm watching what's going on this way, even
That's
though I'm
cool.
not looking there. Just narrow my eyes and don't look at anything. See it all.
We got some time zones represented here. You guys okay?
No, actually,
10:45.
I gotta run now. But it's been a good talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, good chat for sure.
Yeah, it was a necessary one.
Yep.
And just get back to coming on, Ronnie.
Yeah, thanks, Joey.
Like I'd really like that a lot.
Yeah, cool. I'll try to be funny.
I knew you were hurting for a while. And things were difficult,
weather
and I knew
news.
you were making big changes in your life over the last 4 years, and
I'm
stepping out of that kind of frontline work and starting to do your own thing, and just been missing you, man.
Yeah, missing you too.
It's like
good to
when
see
I go to
you.
Vancouver, it's like there's only 3 people I want to see.
Have a good week, but I know I'll be talking to you guys on messaging or anyway. So
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Awesome, man. Yeah, good to meet you.
I can't believe there's actually people still watching the live stream. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, really. I don't know. It's not many, but the thing is, the radio and the TV and now
It's
the
amazing,
podcast. The show's getting out there. So
yeah, it's really cool. What developed.
Don't have to worry about whether people are watching the live stream or not. Just got to worry about being in the live stream.
Yeah. Wow, that's trippy.
Yeah.
Like they're not like the TV's not.
Yeah,
Cool.
I guess I'll shut her down then. Thanks, guys.
Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Ronnie.
Yeah. Good to meet
Thanks
you.
for all the good work you do, man. That's really good stuff.
Appreciate it a lot. It's really good to meet you.
Yeah.
Always good to see you, Joey. Love you, man.
I don't know anybody like you, Ronnie.
Oh, man. Likewise. I was telling someone about you today. I'm like, how there's a lot of guys who just sit around, who have podcasts, and it's just them sitting around and talking to their friends. I'm like, Joey's got a focused point plus an interesting life, so it's pretty cool. I really appreciate what you've done.
And for all the people we've known who you could put into our categories, still in all my time, frontline activism or social work or whatever, never met anyone quite like you.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
Well, that's the show, I guess, guys. I'm gonna go eat something. I'm starving.
Thank you.
See ya.